सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Verse number 29 talks about Yajna number 10 and 11. Yajna number 10 and 11, he is talking about the discipline of pranayama. Now, a few words about pranas before we enter the yajna. Would be easy to follow what he is saying. For academic reference purposes, I can tell you, of the 10 authoritative Upanishads, 6 Upanishads talks about this prana. There is this word prana in 6 Upanishads. In fact, in Prashna Upanishad, spends 2 chapters on discussing this prana. And then you find Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, chapter 6, he talks about this prana. And then you go to Panchadasi, Viveka Chudamani, Bhajagovindam, everywhere you find this word pranas coming in, right through, it keeps coming. If you take the Sanskrit dictionary and look at the meaning of the word prana, there are about 16 meanings they will give. Right from life force to consciousness to Brahman. Now, that is where the knowledge of what word to use in which context becomes very relevant. That's where the study of Mimamsa, Tarka, Nyaya and all is very helpful. Because the word has so many meanings, and which word to use, what meaning, the word is same, prana is the same. 16 meanings. Now, how would you, please understand, it's not synonyms. Please understand the difference. It is not 16 synonyms. If it is 16 synonyms, you can use. I'm saying 16 different meanings. Now, 16 different meanings. Now, how would you know what he's saying? So, it means anybody can say whatever. Anybody can say whatever they want because of the word prana being used. And that's why I gave the references. Inniki pranas link correct irukka? Wi-Fi link kekrada? Vada. Inniki prana konjam seriya irukku namakku. Yesterday konjam padutittu, today prana is better for us. So many the 6 super everywhere this word prana is spoken about. Now, if you have to understand this prana very clearly, you need to know the basics of the human personality very clearly. The basics of the human personality we have seen is divided into the 5 koshas. The Annamaya kosha, the Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. For each and every kosha there is a discipline. For Vijnanamaya kosha, Swadhyaya, study, reflection and all that. Manomaya kosha, the discipline is Upasana, devotion and all that for the mind. For the body, there is action, discipline and all that. Ahara, niyama, all that. Now, what is the discipline to the Pranamaya kosha? Somewhere that is missing, no. And this Pranamaya kosha, since it comes between the Annamaya kosha and the Manomaya kosha, a discipline that you follow at the Pranamaya kosha level will have an influence little bit on the body as well as the mind. Because it is the intermediary. Please understand it as an intermediary. The way that these mystical things and all that talks about this prana, they take and place prana above intellect itself. They take it to a height of mysticism, the powers and all that. Now what it means is Pranamaya Kosha is the intermediary between Annamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. So if you do something at the, therefore a discipline that you practice at the intermediary level will have its effect little bit on the body as well as the mind. Because of the very fact that it is the because of the very fact that it is an intermediary. Any discipline that you do at the physical level will have no effect on the prana. Like ahara niyama you do. Simple breathing in and breathing out you do is a physical exercise, we say. Then where does it turn into a yajna? Only we have seen it turns into an yajna only when God is invoked. As I am sitting and breathing in and breathing out, when only when I invoke the Lord's name. For the Brahmins, the Pranamaya Kosha is equated to Gayatri Mantra. That is why when they do the Pranayama Mantra, they chant the Mahagayatri Mantra. One is the Gayatri Mantra and then the Mahagayatri. Mahagayatri means the full Gayatri. The full Gayatri Mantra starts with Bhuhu. That is why when they do the Pranayama, they start with Om Bhuhu, they say. Even when the priest comes, Om Bhuhu Solomon, he will stop. After that, you have to continue. Now, what does that mean? That's the Mahagayatri Mantra. Bhuhu Bhuvaha Swaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Vargaha Devatiyo Yona Prachodayat Om Apaha Jyoti Rasa Amritam Brahma Bhurbhavaswarom. Now, this is the Mahagayatri. Now, this is only when this is said while doing pranayama, it turns into an yajna. Otherwise, it is a very ordinary breathing exercise. Like the principle of Bhagavad Gita can be used to make profit in an organization. The principle of Bhagavad Gita can be used to make profits. Now, we are not saying it is wrong, but you don't call it as practitioners of yajna. You will not call them, they are practitioners of yajna. A principle they are making use of. Are able to follow? Similarly, these people here, they make use of the prana exercise, which has, because of the connection to the mind, they start seeing some changes and control in the mind also, which lead them to the wrong conclusion by saying, control the prana, the mind can be controlled. When you control the prana, a temporary focus can be brought in. Raga Dvesha will not get rid of by doing pranayama. Where did Krishna say by pranayama you will get rid of Raga Dvesha? By pranayama you will get rid of anatma buddhi and all. How can pranayama get rid of? You will still believe that you are the individual, the ahankara and all that will be there. Therefore, what you need to understand about the prana is an intermediary. It is an intermediary between the Annamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. Because of its connecting with the mind, there is a subtlety to it. There's a subtlety to it. A practitioner can entirely focus on the pranayama exercise, can entirely focus on the prana, and to some extent develop some higher capacities. These higher capacities is known as siddhi powers. By focusing on the prana a lot, they can develop some capacity. That capacity, which is, they call it as siddhi powers. Siddhi means that which is attained through effort. Remember that siddhi power, siddhi means that which is attained through effort. That which is attained through effort means it is man-made. It has got nothing mystical about it. There is nothing godly in it. But people believe in all that. That's where they talk about this Kundalini, this chakra, and all that falls under this category. They take it up and they become efficient in that. By virtue of it, they develop some abilities, some capacities, which the ordinary people don't have. Like for example, for me to run 3 kilometers, I will die if I run 3 kilometers. If I run 3 kilometers, I will die. A marathon runner can run 50 kilometers in 2 hours. And still he is very, now it means he has focused on that particular aspect exclusively and he has developed a power. Since I have not focused on it and exclusively developed that power, that looks like a wonderment to me. Are you able to follow? Those who have done this pranayama and who has developed some extraordinary capabilities, people look at them with wonderment and they say, oh, looks like they all have siddhi powers. Vedanta class lo summa pesine da irukkranga. Ivungalta power la they seem to have no power and all, but these people seem to have some, at least they are able to materialize something. At least they are able to go into a vacuum chamber and lock themselves up for 45 minutes, and you put that alpha rays are okay, beta, I don't know what all they talk. Alpha rays are okay, beta rays are all right, and they can still come out 45th minute alive, and everybody is clapping and saying, what a great spiritual person. Not only that, that person says, by using my power, I can heal you also. That's where you find all these people who deal with it gets into healing a lot. Pranic healing. Vedanta doesn't subscribe to any of that because it says it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. When it says it doesn't work that way, remember this example. It works as an first aid, it works. When somebody is met with an accident, you can give a first, there is a treatment called first aid. But then you need to go through the proper. First aid keeps you temporarily alive so that you can go through the proper treatment. Now, you don't get satisfied with the first aid and go to first aid every day. Prana is something like that. It's a first aid. Because of its subtlety, something connected to the mind is there. People completely misunderstand and they get into all kinds of mysticism also gets involved in this prana a lot. Now, what I am trying to establish is, they are not saying, Krishna is saying, the Upanishads are saying it is a discipline. Pranayama is a discipline by which the pranas are disciplined. The pranas are disciplined. For there is a link between the body and the mind, and there is if you work on the intermediary, it works on both. Now, there is no intermediary between mind and intellect. That is why mind has to be worked separately, buddhi has to be worked separately. There is no intermediary here. Even here you need to work on action separately and mind separately. But then when you are doing this, one essential aspect of your personality is not attended, which is the pranamaya kosha. So he says a discipline to involve that practice also. Mysticism is nothing but when they specially focus on something, you develop a power, a capacity. And all these great masters, that's why they don't talk. You go to any great master worth the name, they will not talk about these powers and all. Even if they talk about it, they will, with contempt, they will condemn it. They will not say any utility at all in it. Because the utility part of it is restricted to healing. Healing of what? With all this, what can you heal? You can't heal the ignorance of anybody through this. You can only heal the physical body. And that itself becomes since the vast majority of human beings are body oriented. Since most of them are body oriented, they get so carried away by all these things. Now, why I am distinguishing I'm talking about the positive side of the prana and the negative side of prana. And then we will understand when we go into the discussion of this yajna, it becomes that much easy. Yesterday, I wanted to get into the prana and discuss a lot, but I don't know, work out all. So, inniki prana connection la odin irukku konjam. Before the connection gets disconnected again, at least I thought I will talk about the pranas first and then go into the yajna. So, the Kundalini Shakti they talk about, and like even in the hymns, Shankaracharya talks about it. In the Lalita Sahasranama, he talks about the chakras, and each and every hymn you can use this to goddess. They talk about all this as in a discipline that ought to be followed separately also. In the Patanjali system of Ashtanga Yoga, he places it at the fourth stage. The Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, is it okay till now? Now I'm moving on to the next aspect from where this pranayama is systematized beautifully. Prashnopanishad talks about prana, but then he equates prana with Brahman. So every time you breathe in and breathe out, remember Brahman. He doesn't talk about the powers and the healing and all that in Prashnopanishad, Kathopanishad. Everywhere the word prana comes. Now, Patanjali's yoga system, which is an integrated, what they call today as integrated yoga, they say no. As though other yogas are not integrated. What is that integrated yoga? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. Now, in that pranayama, he places at the 4th level. Yama means controller. Yama means controller. Prana, Niyama. When the pranas are controlled, I'm not getting into the Sanskrit language now. Because of the Sanskrit things and all that, this controlling the prana is what is known as pranayama. Just as, take the symbol, let's give a simple example. See, what is the orthodox word for the sacred thread? Yajñopavitam. Yajna upavitam. That which takes you closer, that which qualifies you to do, that which qualifies by which you can do yajna. That's what it means. Now when that meaning is lost and when it is simply worn, it doesn't make any sense. It is not a traditional practice, you wear that. Yeah. Similarly, we have this pranayama also. It is the controlling the prana. Controlling the prana for what? The moment we say control, we always talk about control for what? When the control is a material, tangible benefit, it ceases to be yajna. When the control is for a material, tangible benefit as in health, tangible benefit as in me healing and helping somebody else also. It doesn't matter, but definitely it is a tangible benefit. But then what happens is, since people are so physically body oriented, attachment to the body, all these looks very mystical. So first thing that you need to understand is there is nothing mystical about pranayama, and there is nothing that is going to, we are not saying there is no such thing called siddhi powers. A person where I can't run 3 kilometers, When a person is running 50 kilometers, I will not say he has siddhi powers, no. Similarly, because of his focusing on the prana aspect of the personality, he develops some inner capacities. Since I have not done that area of work, that looks something extraordinarily great. I tell you, even those who come in contact with Vedanta Allah, Vedanta or intellectual or intelligent or intellectual kick, they actually will go and fall for. They will actually go and fall for that only. Yeah, I have seen any number of people doing that. Why? Because deep down they think there is something. Deep down they always believe there is something mystical about it. Not realizing that the capacity, when you focus on the prana aspect of you, you develop certain capacities. Always remember this. Whatever you focus upon, you develop an extraordinary capacity in that field. If you focus on the body and the action, you develop an extraordinary capacity in that. I see a person who has this six packs and whatever the muscles are there, he can show all the muscles in one body. Yeah, and I see in my body nothing, not a single muscle I can see in my body. That looks so extraordinary. And when I see a bhakta, a person who has attended to the manomaya aspect of the personality, when I see a bhakta, it is staggering. How can a person have such devotion? How can a person have such faith and conviction? That faith, the emotional part. And when you see somebody who has attended to the Vijnanamaya Kosha part, the tarka, the logic, the analysis, how they can keep the mind and body under their control. It seems so mystical. Mystical because, always understand this, mystical because you have not focused on that. When you focus there, you will get it. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna saying in 12 Yajnas? You have a choice to work on the Annamaya Kosha personality. You have a choice to work on the Pranamaya Kosha personality. You have the choice to work on the Manomaya Kosha. You have the choice to work on the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Whatever you choose to work, it is okay. Ask yourself for what? Ask yourself, for what are you doing this? This is where extraordinary masters comes in. This is where you need a extraordinary teacher. A person went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. A very well-known parable. It happened in his life. A person went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, showing off his siddhi powers. He walked on the water and came. From the other side of the river, he just walked on the water and came. He told Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, I walked. Can you do that? Ramakrishna said, no, I can't do that. If I walk, I will drown. If I walk, I will drown. And then he asked his disciple sitting next to him, he asked, on the side and the inside, boat how much do they charge? 2 rupees. Not in those days, not 2 rupees, some maybe 10 paisa. So he looked back and said, by 19 years of practice, you have saved 10 paisa. By walking on water, what have you saved? You have saved 10 paisa. That's all. Nothing has changed in you. But then, I have said this example always many a times. A Gautam Buddha walk on the road and a street magician walks on the road. Who looks attractive? To whom will the crowd go? Not to Gautam Buddha. They will go only to the street magician because he is promising something. No. In Vedanta, he says, Uddared Atmanatmanam, I have told you what I have to say. You do what you want. There is no promise here. Even if he promises, he says, if you do the work, I will promise to to give you the result. Now, if I have done the work, now who is he to give me the result? Anyway, it is going to come to me. No. Now, in all other systems of this mystical things and all that, they say, you need not do anything. I will do the work for you, and I will transfer the benefit, to you. And that seems to be a very good, that is always a very good deal, no? Where you don't have to do the work, but the benefits if you can get. Now, prana, people misunderstand it like this. Why I'm saying so much of story is, prana is being misunderstood like this. Prana is not understood as an intermediary. So they believe in this. Vedanta is not saying this Kundalini is not there. Vedanta is not saying it is not there. But then it has a tangible experience, tangible benefit, which means it is worldly. Which means it is worldly, and it will not give you moksha. The problem today is we need to define what moksha is first. We need a clarity on the word moksha. Yeah. Sometimes I used to think we need to define the definition of moksha first very clear. Because everybody is talking about moksha. Everybody comes and says moksha, and yeah. One fellow comes and says in the Kali Yuga Nama Japa only. In this Kali Yuga, bhakti is the only method. Nothing else will work. For you to get moksha, do bhakti. Another person says, do breathing in and breathing out. That is enough. And then Sadguru will come and say something else. Ravi Shankar will come and say something else. And Upanishad is saying something else. We are completely confused as to what is moksha. And then we have an easy method to follow. What is the easy method? We have an easy method to follow. What is the easy method? Go there. Herd instinct. Wherever the crowd goes, it has to be. Wherever the crowd goes, it has to be correct only. And therefore, what do? We follow the herd. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the Upanishads, these great masters, they say the positive side of it and they say the negative side of it. There is a positive side of it to the prana. What is the positive side of it to the prana is what we will discuss when we go into the yajna. There is a positive side to it. There is a negative side to it. Negative side to it is a misunderstanding that it is something, a mystical power. If it is the mystical power, Patanjali should have kept pranayama where? Just before samadhi, no? If pranayama is so subtle and so powerful, the Prashna Upanishad should have kept Pranamaya Kosha after Anandamaya Kosha itself. It should have said Annamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and then samadhi, no? If prana is that so high in the way that people have misunderstood, Vedanta comes and says there is a subtlety to it. First thing, there is a subtlety to it. What is the subtlety? It acts as an intermediary between the Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira, the gross body and the subtle body. It acts as an intermediary between the gross body and the subtle body. So when you exercise that, some functions of the body gets aligned, some part of the mind gets temporarily under control. And what is the exercise? What is the actual exercise of pranayama? That we know. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, this technique of pranayama, many books were written, many different styles of pranayama is there. All boils down to 4 only. All boils down to 4. Breathing in, holding it, breathing out, holding it. That's all. Pranayama has only these 4 steps. Only difference is the methodology of breathing in, holding, the count and all that. All that. Second is a combination of breathing in and breathing out through the nose and the mouth. That's all the different technique. All these pranayama techniques will boil down to these basics. All the pranayama techniques will now. Krishna here is not going into such details of pranayama exercises. He says it is an aspect of your personality which you need to pay attention to also. And when you pay attention to it, there is a connection. What is the connection? There is the vitality. There is the vitality. So prana means vital air. Prana means the life force. In Vedanta, we take the definition of vital air. We don't take the definition of life force. In the Yoga Sutras, they take prana means the definition of life force. Now it all boils down to what definition you take. And you can't take the definition of life force and all that, because the higher equipments, the mind and the intellect are able to influence prana that much. We have known this, we have studied this before. It is the subtle that controls the gross. The gross has no influence over the gross has no influence over the subtle. The buddhi has to sit, the buddhi has to command you to sit and do pranayama. Pranas doesn't tell the intellect to think. Are you able to follow? The pranas doesn't tell the intellect to think now. But the intellect says, sit in a posture. I will not allow you to move this side, that side. Sit in a posture and do this exercise. It means, what is gross? What is subtle? The mind and intellect becomes subtle. Prana becomes gross. Now we work on this logic. We work on this logic to say that there is a subtlety to prana, but don't give mystical powers and all to, don't give any mystical sense or mystical meanings to prana and all that. When you do this pranayama exercise, your vitality increases. And what they did, just as pranayama exercise means breathing, they worked on this. So there is a separate science, they worked on that breathing. Similarly, there is a separate science that worked on the intricacies of prana. That's where they divided the prana into the 5 pranas, the pancha prana. Of the pancha pranas, the first is prana. Coffee, what are the ingredients of coffee? Coffee, say no. What goes into coffee? Coffee. What is kind of yeah, 3 things together should make up a coffee. Coffee itself is coffee. Similarly, 5 pranas. Now, the first word is prana. Prana, apana, dhyana, udhana, dhyana, udhana, samana. Each and every prana has a physical function and a physiological function. Carefully follow. Each and every prana has a physical function and physiological function. இதெல்லாம் ஒரு academic details கோசரம் சொல்றது இதெல்லாம். Also to show off, நான் இதெல்லாம் படிச்சிருக்கிறேன்னு காமிக்கிறதுக்கு அவ்வளவுதான். There is a physical function to it. There is a physiological function to it. That's all. So prana has a physical function and the physiological function. Apana. That is why in the exercises and all that, one kind of postures has to be done through prana, another kind of postures has to be done through apana, dhyana, samana, udhana. Though there is a physical function and there is a physiological function. Honestly speaking, if you ask me what are all the physical function and physiological function, நாளைக்கு சொல்றேன் I will say, because I have to go back and refer my notes. I forgot those physical and physiological functions எல்லாம். Anybody who is interested, I will give the list tomorrow. அது சும்மா வச்சு படிக்க வேண்டியதான். There is nothing in it. And that we have to take it for granted. There is no logic there. There is no logic in it to say this. How do you say this prana is of this? How do you say this prana of this? Idella taken for granted, or I have to sit and study about the pranic sciences that much. Now, that's not our focus here. Krishna's focus in Bhagavad Gita is not about doing pranayama, not studying prana as a separate science and delving deep and all into it. That's not Krishna's, because that's not Krishna's intention, because Krishna follows the traditional Vedantic method of teaching. What is the traditional Vedantic method of teaching? All yajnas, now carefully follow, this is the link. All yajnas can be broadly classified to two only. One is karma yajna and another is jnana yajna. All the yajnas can be classified into two, karma yajnas and jnana yajnas. In the distinction, he is going to say in verse number 31, 32, he will talk about this distinction. And then he concludes to say, Jnana Yajna is the best. Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna is the best. From this, what do you understand? All yajnas are born of karma, and he makes a distinction. What is the distinction? This yoga, this yajna of sense control, the self-control, or this pranayama, inner strength, vitality, the dravya yajna, tapoya, all this of karma yajna type, born of action. In jnana yajna, jnana yajna is not an action. Jnana yajna is this, I will come to that. This karma yajnas purify you, qualify you for jnana yajna. So karma yajnas are all very important, because without that inner purification cannot happen. Without that inner purification, we straight away come to jnanam, we will become a very good philosophy professor. Purpose of goal will not be, a person can give a wonderful lecture on Maya and still be affected by Maya. It means he is not yet qualified to, there is no inner purification that he has achieved to come to that level of jnana yajna. So all yajnas can be broadly classified into two, the karma yajnas and the jnana yajna. Jnana yajna is of only one. What is it? Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnam. He doesn't want us to guess, and he specifically mentions it and he emphasizes it by saying Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna is the best, Arjuna. If prana is something more vital and extraordinary, you should have said, in my opinion, pranayama yajna is best, Arjuna. Arjuna would have to sit in the battlefield and start breathing in and breathing out. Are you able to follow? Therefore, these yajnas is of these two, karma yajnas and jnana yajna. Now, pranayama belongs to the part of karma yajna. Pranayama doesn't belong to the part of jnana yajna. Neither pranayama is something above than this karma yajna and jnana yajna. Pranayama, because it is an action that you are sitting and doing, it becomes a karma yajna. Are you able to follow? Why we call it as a karma yajna is because you can choose the time, the place and everything, and you can sit and discipline it. Anything that can be done out of will and discipline is called karma yajna. Anything that happens, jnanam is not of it. Jnanam is a recognition, we said. What is knowledge? Knowledge means seeing things as it is. Therefore, these karma yajnas prepare you for jnana yajna. That's why I always said, remember the formula, jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. So, of the inner purification of the very many karma yajnas that purifies you, pranayama is one. Don't forget this Don't forget this session on pranayama. Otherwise, anybody talks, you will get confused. You will also get tempted to believe there is something mystical. There is something, it's not, it's the intermediary. And this is the Vedic way of understanding prana. That's why I said, Prashnopanishad talks 2 chapters about it. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about it. Chandogya talks about it. Brihadaranyaka talks about it. Mundaka talks about it. Sapta pranaha, he says. Sapta pranaha. Mundaka Upanishad talks about pranas. You come to Isavasya Upanishad, Keno and all only doesn't talk about it. Even Keno Upanishad talk, you can't say Keno Upanishad. Keno Upanishad also talks about it. Keneshitam padati preshitam manaha. Keno Upanishad also talks about the prana. Isavasya Upanishad doesn't talk about prana. Kaivalya Upanishad doesn't talk about prana. Kathopanishad also talks about, but very small reference. Bhagavad Gita, 2 chapters he refers to pranas a lot. One is in chapter 4, another is when we go to chapter 6. But in chapter 6, he talks about everything. See, in chapter 6, he talks about the quantity control. Chapter 17, he will talk about quality control. In chapter 6, he says, eat moderately. Quantity control. And the eat moderately, he leaves it in chapter 6. Athoda, he drops it. Straight, he goes into the 17th chapter and he talks about the quality control there. What is the quality control there? Satvika ahara, rajasika ahara, and tamasika ahara. Now, what Krishna did in Bhagavad Gita is he attends to all aspects of the personality, including giving us the diet plan. Right up to giving the diet plan, he went. When he is doing that, he ensures that this distinction is maintained very clearly. What is the distinction? Stage number 1, when you are an extrovert, perform actions, develop inner purity, and then mature for jnanam. Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam formula, he gives it in chapter 2 itself. In chapter 2 itself, he gives both the formulas. Arjuna finds it too difficult to follow this. When I say follow this means in understanding this. Here, we are trying to decipher that statement. So, what do you understand from here? Of the very many karma yajnas that Krishna has prescribed, pranayama is one such karma yajna which is intended for chitta shuddhi, inner purification. From an extrovert, you turn into an introvert. Extrovert karma yoga, introvert jnana yoga. Are you okay till now? This is the brief summary about prana. Instead of going into the evening, this evening, somebody from the academic group, they called me incidentally. Some discussion about prana only happened. Something about prana they wanted to know, and I was talking and explaining. I was so tempted to go back and open my notes. Then I said, Udana Shakti evladhaan irukku paakalam. I didn't refer the notes. Udana, let me see how much is the absorption, how much of absorption has happened. Let us see. Same thing at the age of 85, I am still alive, I can't do it. I have to refer the notes only, because the vitality will diminish. The vitality will diminish as the body deteriorates. Since prana has a grosser aspect in relation to the body, that part of the prana will diminish, which Vedanta says is part of the deal. So what is the need to worry about it also? This brief explanation about prana is very much required before we discuss the yajna as prana yajna. What is this? Pranayama yajna. So, there is nothing mystical about it. It is mystical if you have not trained. When Roger Federer plays a stroke, suddenly he comes up with the stroke, it is mystical. How can a man come up with with an angle like that, with a shot like that? But then it is sheer action. It is sheer continuous dedicated action. He developed a capacity. I'm just summarizing all this, and then because I'm going to go into the verse. Because when you go into the verse, you should have what we are discussing, prana, what we are discussing, you need to know. See, when we discussed about actions, we knew what action is. When we discussed about the mind, we knew what mind is to some extent. When we discussed about buddhi, we knew what buddhi is to some extent. Prana, we didn't know, I spent some time. Now I'm summarizing all that. The 5 koshas, Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. When you, whatever personality you focus and work upon, you develop a capacity in that kosha. A few focuses on Pranamaya kosha a lot, and they work a lot on that, and they develop some capacity. Any capacity that you have developed is called Siddhi. In the Patanjali, they say Ashta Siddhi, 8 powers. And then they go on to say 64 Siddhis. Siddhi means that which is attained through practice and effort. That which is attained through practice and effort means what? That which is attained through practice and effort is diminishing. You will lose it very soon. Anything that is attained through effort, you will lose it very soon. Okay, even if you don't lose it, upon death everything will be lost. Therefore, we call it as karma yajna. Because it has the nature of its losing its result. If a person is focusing on Annamaya kosha, he will have an 8-pack body. He will have an 8-pack body. A person who is not having an 8-pack body, understand that he is not focused on the Annamaya kosha a lot. Now, if he is focusing on Annamaya kosha, if he has 8-pack body, what he will do from morning till night? He will be sitting in the gym only. We are not calling it as inferior. We are not calling it as wrong. That person's focus is that, and that's what he gets. Similarly, another person focuses on Pranamaya kosha aspect. The technique is the various methods of pranayama, the 4 types, breathing in through the mouth and the nose and all that combination put together. And then the breathing happens through the right nostril, left brain, right nostril. It goes alternatively. All this cannot be discussed in this classroom because this is not our subject matter here. Neither am I an expert to talk on that. Neither am I an expert also to talk on that, because basically I know what it is. That's all. I have not gone into the details of so much of the details. I also do not. But then broadly I know it is for an inner purification, and that much is enough to understand. Just as we don't say having an 8-pack body is wrong, but my focus is not on that. As long as I have a fit body, I'm okay. Similarly, the person who is focusing on Pranamaya kosha. Similarly, a person who is focusing on Manomaya kosha develops a unique capacity in relation to that. A person focusing on Vijnanamaya kosha develops a unique capacity in relation to that. But all means yajna, all means discipline, all means control. The question is, you control for what? Again, number 1 and 2, for a relative ideal or an absolute ideal. Now, the same pranayama becomes a ordinary breathing physical exercise if you are just breathing in and breathing out. The same pranayama becomes an yajna the moment God is remembered. Summave breathing in and breathe out, it's a very good physical exercise. It has got nothing, you will not call it as pranayama yajna. But sir, I don't know this Mahagayatri, Om Bhuhala, I don't know what do I do. It doesn't really matter. Rama Krishna Soline Kuda, you can do this breathing in and breathing out. Not necessarily that you need to know this mantra. It's a remembrance. The moment you understand the technique behind it, you can even chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayana, whatever it is, and still do the breathing in and breathing out. It turns into one yajna. Annamaya Kosha exercising turns into an yajna only when the purpose is connected. A fit body for what? So that I can undisturbed sit and listen to a lecture. Undisturbed sit and listen to a lecture is what fitness is all about. I am okay as long as I get that. Pranayama is for what? Whatever is said, I should absorb it rightly. When he says verse number 62, 63 of chapter 2, அப்படின்னா அது என்ன சார்னு புக்ல போய் தேடக்கூடாது இமீடியட்டா. அது வரைக்கும் எனக்கு பிராணாயாமா பண்ணா போகும். So the connection is there. Otherwise I have to keep 10 books, two, three dictionaries and all that. Means memory is very low. Where we can't even remember one phone number. Where are we to remember what is this verse in Kathopanishad, what is the verse in Isavasya and all that. So pranayama is done to that extent. What? As long as the subtler functions of the body is kept intact. Then manomaya. What does manomaya means? The upasana, the bhakti marga. What does the bhakti marga implies? Remembrance of the divine. What is intellect? Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha says, you do all this at level 1 for Chitta Shuddhi. At level 2, you ask, who am I? At one level, how do you start with? This is what I said in the Sunday class also. How do you start with? You start by saying, I am Manoharan. Let us say, I am Manoharan. Now there are two things in this. One is the I and another is Manohar. Now for Manohar to focus on I and know what this I is truly, what he needs to do, purification is required. For that purification, what all needs to be done, he does. That is karma yajna. And then comes to the inquiry of this I. Right now what has happened? This I and Manohar are one and the same, sir. இது வந்து linguistically தான் I am Manohar னு பிரிச்சு சொல்றேனே தவிர literally there is no difference between I and Manohar. நீங்களா என்னத்துக்கு why are you coming in unnecessary confusing? I am Manohar is to say that figuratively, but in reality there is no difference between I and Manohar. Vedanta comes and says, no, it is not like that. There is the I is separate, that which arrogates the I is separate. Now all this is Jnana Yoga. Now you can do all this only when there is an inner purification. Without inner purification, if you get into this discussion of who am I and all that, it will look like a very good joke. After a while, we ourselves will start laughing. What am I sitting and doing this? Who am I? I is separate, Manohar is separate. Manohar is consisting of this. I doesn't unconnected, like the example of magnet and the wooden piece and the world. of the very many inner disciplines, that is for inner purification, pranayama is one such. It neither comes under the recit category, neither it comes under the reaction category, neither it comes under the response category. Therefore, he treats it outside of that. Because prana, you are not receiving stimuli from prana. Neither is it a product of, neither is prana a product of receipt of stimuli, neither prana is a product of the reaction, neither prana is a product of response. Therefore, he spoke about that three, and then he put a comma there, and then he's continuing. And then he's continuing. What is the continuity? There is this pranamaya kosha in you, which we are discussing. Are you okay about pranas? Now we will move on to the verse number 29, which talks about the two yajnas, and both the yajna connected to pranayama only. Both the yajnas connected to pranayama. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatapare pranapanagati ruddhva pranayama parayanaha. Yet others offer a sacrifice prana into apana and apana into prana. Restraining the courses of prana and apana, some are absorbed in pranayama. So the first category, what is the yajna? The impure prana is offered as ahuti, healthy prana is the kindled. The impure prana is offered as ahuti, and pure prana is the kindling. That pure prana becomes the ahuti, and vitality is kindled. This is yajna number 10 and 11. Verse number 30, the last yajna, which we will take it up, and we will conclude the yajnas. Now these two yajna is what? Yet others offer a sacrifice prana into apana and apana into prana. There he is talking about people practicing prana into apana, apana into prana. It means what? The unhealthy pranas of now is the ahuti. What is kindled? The healthy pranas. The unhealthy pranas is the ahuti, the healthy pranas is kindled. That prana becomes the ahuti at the next yajna. That prana, that the pure prana is for what? That pure prana is offered into the ahuti, and what is kindled? Vitality is kindled. Vitality for what? Yajna number 2. The absolute ideal of liberation. Therefore, this verse number 29 actually can be finished off in 2 minutes. Because there is nothing to discuss much. But so much has to be told about the pranas, and 1 hour it took. Yajna is very simple. Prana into apana, apana into prana in one yajna. It means what? Right now, because of the wrong way of living and because of the wrong practices, the pranas are all very unhealthy. The pranas are all very unhealthy. That unhealthy pranas is the ahuti, and what is kindled? The vitality prana, the good prana, which figuratively he says as prana into apana, apana into prana. Now, if you take that literally, if you take the literal meaning, incoming breath and outgoing breath, incoming breath and outgoing breath, incoming breath and outgoing breath. When a person does this yajna, what happens? Restraining the courses of prana and apana. Restraining the courses of prana and apana means he's combined it together. In the first yajna, when I say first yajna means understand the context of pranayama, rendu yajna. The context of pranamaya kosha, there are two yajnas. In the first yajna, what is it? Prana is offered into apana and apana into offered into prana. So it is done at one level. The next yajna, restraining the courses of prana and apana, both together is combined. Exactly the technique that he followed earlier. What is it? Where did he follow this technique earlier? He talked about one sense control and then he spoke about all the sense control together. The same technique. First, he talks about the prana and apana as a separate exercise, and then he goes into restraining the courses of prana and apana together. This restraining the courses of prana and apana together becomes the 11th yajna. What is kindled? Vitality is kindled. Vitality is kindled. So, it's a straightforward yajna. It's a very straightforward yajna in those days. That's why he kept it separately. Today, it is not so straightforward because our difficulty in understanding what this prana is. Yesterday, intermediary is what I was explaining a bit yesterday. This intermediary is what I was explaining a bit yesterday. What is an intermediary? The intermediary in the sense of the link between the gross body and the subtle body. Yesterday, I thought I will go in one angle. First, I thought I will explain the link between the gross body and the subtle body, and then go to prana, and then go to Prashnopanishad and the discussion of the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, and all that. That I will conclude there. But adula voice is seri illa, adu seri illa, idu seri illa, all my flow my pranas got disturbed. So we said, mood it, we will start. Allah tung it, we will start again afresh tomorrow. What I was discussing yesterday is, I was discussing the intermediary part, the link between the gross and the subtle. That is why when there is a death, we say pranas have left. We will never say so and so died. We will say so and so pranas have left. Or pranana uttutarpa, they say. He left the pranas left the body. When we say pranas left the body means pranas along with the mind and intellect. It is implied in it. You need not say it separately. It is implied there. So by restraining the prana, you are not going to postpone your death Allah. You are not going to elongate the period of your living Allah. For that is entirely dependent on your prarabdha. You can do breathing in and breathe out, and at the age of 20 also you can die, because that is entirely dependent on the longevity is dependent on your prarabdha. Whatever your set longevity is, you can be vital in that. Pranayama helps there. So they say, if you want a long life, do pranayama. We say, no, it doesn't work that way. By doing pranayama, I can't extend my prarabdha for another 10 years. Abdina, morning, noon and night, everybody will be doing only pranayama and we will not die only. No, it is not that. What it means is vitality is kept alive. The link. When you do this exercise, it ensures that there is a vitality at the physical level also, and there is a vitality at the subtler level also, because of the intermediary. But what you need to understand is, it can only play a limited role in the body and it can play only a limited role in the mind. It doesn't control the both completely. Please understand that. Don't think that prana is the controlling factor between the body and the mind. It is only the intermediary. Because of it being the intermediary, whatever is done at the prana some benefits will be seen at the level of the mind, some benefits will be seen at the level of the body also. And the Yoga Shastra defines that very clearly. And the which affects the physical and which affects the physiological, which affects the physical and which affects the physiological. All of details kulla pona, you need to know the upaprana, the panch prana irukra madri, and then there are 5 sub pranas. And the sub pranas ellam padichadha you will get a complete understanding. Abdina 10-15 years you have to spend studying on pranas, which is not. If that is your ideal goal, it is perfectly all right to sit and do that. For the vast majority, it is not that. But where comes the problem is, the vast majority is misled to believe there is something mystical in it. At least in these sessions, at least here, the few of us should understand clearly that there is nothing mystical about it. There is nothing mystical about it. So you can do that practice. In the Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali talks about that. I briefly spoke about that also, the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. So he says, even before you start the Asana, Pranayama, ensure that you have Yama and Niyama. And the list he gives of Yama and Niyama of Patale, we feel like, why do we do Asana and Pranayama after that? So, the Yama and Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So, it is a step. 4th step, even according to Patanjali, he has kept it as the 4th step, means there are steps which is higher above that. Therefore, he was also very clear in establishing that there is nothing mystical in it. How we started believing that it is so mystical and everybody going and falling for this is something very mystical actually. How when it is so clearly laid out like this, how people are still going and believing that there is something mystical in it and all that. You follow? And all these people will talk about longevity, no disease. All these people who talk about this prana a lot, if you observe, one thing in common they will talk. What is one thing in common they will talk? A disease-free body they will talk. They will talk about, you will get a good sleep. Obviously, a person who gets a good sleep will not be stressed a lot. Yeah. Obviously, a person who gets a good sleep will not be stressed. Therefore, they connect everything to prana and they say, if all this is achieved, that is moksha. Are you able to follow? Therefore, there is nothing mystical about it. A typical exercise of breathing in and breathing out itself can be converted into has to be converted into yajna, and everybody has to do this pranayama. Everybody has to do this pranayama because we have this pranamaya kosha personality in us. Since we have this pranamaya kosha personality in us, we need to do pranayama, and there is a vitality to it. And that vitality, and when you do this exercise of attending to the pranamaya kosha of your personality, that also needs to be converted into one yajna. For according to Krishna, everything that you do has to be converted into yajna. Has to be converted into yajna. Abdina, receipt has to be converted into yajna. Reaction has to be converted into yajna. Responses has to be converted into yajna. Pranayama has to be converted into yajna. Beautiful set of explaining your activities and telling you, ensure that you remember the divine in and through all this. By remembering the divine in and through all this, you are converting it into one yajna. Beautiful Beautiful analysis. Beautiful analysis. And every time I sit and do it, actually speaking, I was thinking this morning. Yeah, when I was doing this, I was thinking, for me to sit and do this, there are 15 people who are ready to sit and listen to me also. Every time I sit and go through this distinction, this study of these 12 yajnas, something keeps changing. Something keeps happening. Something keeps happening. உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது பவர் வந்துட்டான்னு கேட்காதீங்க. எனக்கு எதுவும் வந்த மாதிரி தெரியல. Swamiji says, no, if I have the capacity to bless, what I will do? First I will bless myself and say, let me get wonderful disciples and I will bless myself. No, he said it one day. What will, the dining table, you can joke with him, no, you can ask him anything. Swamiji, capacity to bless, what will you do, Swamiji? I didn't ask her. Hey, you know what I will bless myself? Let me get at least one wise student and I will bless myself. எங்க ஒருத்தரும் வரா மாதிரி தெரியல, அவருக்கும் பாவம். So what does it mean? Prana as a separate exercise. So when you are doing this, 11 yajnas we have completed. Means what? We have handled the receipt part into yajna, the response part into the reaction part to yajna, the response part to yajna, the pranayama also into yajna. As you attend to receipt, reaction and response, a person will turn back and ask, where is prana now? How are we, Krishna? Maybe on the floor, maybe you forgot pranayama. So he says, no, I didn't forget. In that sequence, it doesn't come. So it is added so it is spoken as a separate yajna. What is it, separate yajna? Yajna number 10 and 11 consisting of pranayama yajna. Yajna number 10 and 11 can be called as pranayama yajna. Verse number 28 can be called as the yajna of responses. The previous yajna can be called as yajna of, the verse number 27 can be called as the yajna of reaction. Verses yajna number 3 and 4 can be called as yajna of receipt. So yajna of receipt is the number sonna, yajna of reaction, yajna of response, yajna of prana. We have concluded up to yajna number 11. We have only one more yajna, 12, and yajna number 12, verse number 30, we don't stop. We need to go right up to 33 to conclude, because he concludes the yajna only in verse number 33 by concluding the yajna portion. So we study right up to 33, but 31, 32, 33 is very easy. We just that we can finish off. It won't take that much time, but we conclude only upon verse number 33. So till date we have finished yajnas up to 11. We have finished. How to convert the yajna of perception, the yajna of receipt of stimuli, the yajna of the reaction portion, the yajna of the response portion, the yajna of pranas. When all this yajna is done, collectively, because I said in the very first class, it's not that you have a choice of 12 yajnas and you choose which one. You need to follow. You need to do everything. It means it has to be followed as a cycle. One flow into the other. One flow into the other. As one flows into the other, the last yajna, which we will see the next class, and we will conclude the 12 yajnas. So when we say 12 yajna, just to refresh, it is not 12 different yajnas we are talking about. It's not 12 yajnas is given as a buffet and you are asked to choose one. In this 12 yajna, what you need to understand is all these 12 needs to be done. With this, conclude this yajna. Now there were some clarifications yesterday which I couldn't take up, and I'm trying to get where those clarifications are. I'm not able to. Do you still have the clarification, Bharat? I think Bharat had something, Subramaniam had one thing. Yeah. Subramaniam, chalunga.
Yes. I had a clarification in the reaction part.
Yes.
Stimuli, receipt, reaction, and response.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
In a day-to-day transaction, we do get large number of stimuli into our mind.
Yes.
Only very few of those stimuli tend to create reaction, and vast majority do not create reaction at all.
Yes.
Mostly stimuli dies as a part of a stimuli.
Yes.
Once a perception is felt and it dies out really.
Yes.
So the ones to create the reaction,
yes,
the reaction is because of our own raga dveshas. We tend to get reactions.
Correct. Yes. Correct. Perfectly correct. Yes.
So the good way to minimize the reaction consciously is to reduce raga dvesha.
Correct. Perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. Right. Because I can't do much about the stimuli. Stimuli will keep coming in anyway.
Correct.
Correct. Perfect. Correct. So the best way is minimize. Minimize raga dvesha. That is inner purification. When raga dvesha is minimized, that is what is known as achievement of inner purification.
Correct.
And then I go and knock it off at the root itself.
Okay.
Perfectly correct. Yes. Okay. Correct. Yeah. Is it okay, Subramaniam? Okay. Bharat, I think you also had something, but I couldn't take it up yesterday.
Yes. So, yesterday I asked a question.
Yeah.
Was saying that when you look at the cycle.
Yes.
And if I'm dissecting the cycle.
Yes.
So I was a little confused after saying that in the Yajna 1, 2 to Yajna 6.
Yes.
It all pertains to the use of intellect and the way the whole Yajnas are constructed is to, of course, in every Yajna there is divinity.
Yes.
But it's more towards saying that how the intellect is really sharpened.
Yes.
Needs to behave in terms of bringing in constraint, in terms of perception, in terms of all the aspects of yoga, control, etc. If you look at Yajna 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, as far as we are concerned right now, it is not, it is more towards a general aspect. So there are two aspects. One is subjective, that is for my own self.
Yes.
The other one is for the entire. So it is general.
Yes.
So for example.
Yes.
So prana, everybody and everybody. Similarly, is the case of wealth and austerity.
Yes.
Or if you look at yoga practices.
Yes.
And I'm just reading from the books.
Yeah, correct. And,
yes. So if it when you see yajna, when we started, we are supposed to do yajna for self, right? Since we start that way, how then the whole thing changes to the general aspect?
Yes, it changes to the general aspect because as I receive stimuli from the world, I am also giving stimuli back to the world. It's a two-way transaction. As I am receiving stimuli from the world, my responses are the stimuli to the world. So in Yajna Karma, he's saying since you are the one who's offering stimuli back to the world, he dissects that and discusses that also. Instead of giving the stimuli as one of anger, hatred, or something very limited, let that also be of something of the highest nature. So, when we talk about yajna number 6, he talks about the responses part. Why the response part is because he's saying, just as you have a responsibility to deal with the receipt and reaction, you have a responsibility to deal with the responses also. So whenever we talk about the responses, we will talk about the world, which will be in general in nature. In yajna 1 to 6, you are correct. It is specific to you. It's not that yajna 6 to 11 is not specific to you, but the other also comes into play a little bit here. The world comes into a play a little bit here. How the world comes into a play a little bit here is because what you respond, your responses is the stimuli to the other. It means life is not a one-way transaction where I only receive. I am also giving something back. So when I am giving something back, that me giving something back also must be of. I have to attend to that separately and ensure that that is also consciously attended to. So when it is consciously attended to, Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, and all that, we talk about offering back into the world. There, we talk about receiving from the world at one stage, and then we are talking about offering back into the world. That is why when we complete the 12th yajna, and the Swamiji commentary and the diagram paathelna, when we finish the 12th yajna, cyclically it will go into the first yajna again. It will go into the third yajna again, not the first yajna. It will go into the third yajna again. So it means 3, 4, 5, 6 and the cycle. Thus, this cycle, evam pravartitam chakram, he said, no. Swamiji didn't make this circle. Krishna said it earlier, this chakram. Correct. The cycle is maintained. Now it means he has to establish the cycle. So the cycle is established like this here. So from, your observation is correct. From yajna number 6, it appears as though it is an external, something to do with the other also in mind. The other also in mind comes because you are responding back into the world, and your responses is what is going to be triggering as the stimuli to the other. You can respond in such a way that the divine can be reminded in the other or not. Like for example, what we put in the forehead is an yajna, no?
Yes, correct.
Trayambakam. Now what I put in the forehead, இன்னைக்கு கேமரா இருக்கிறதுனால நான் என்னையே பார்க்கிறேன். இல்லைன்னா it is not done for me. It is done for you who's looking at me. Yes. Now when you do the same thing, we are mutually helping each other. This is what he says, parasparam bhavayantaha. Helping each other we grow. Because they offer stimuli to me. My response, now what is the stimuli? Their responses is the stimuli, no? To me.
Right.
Similarly, my responses is the stimuli to them. So from my end, I ensure that I take care of everything. So he's saying, be conscious about all these cyclical aspects of life and pay attention to all this, is what he said. Is it okay, Bharat?
Yeah, that's correct. That's a very good point. Because so the way our responses becomes a receipt for others. So
others,
it's an input.
Yes.
So it's an input for
exactly correct. That's the input that I am giving to the other. It means I need to be careful about what I am
responding.
what I am responding. I have to be extremely, because I have a tremendous responsibility over that also. I can't say I will do what I want. If you take it, it is your problem. We can't take that stance. We have to be careful about how I respond also. That's where from Yajna number 6, he brings that shift.
Yes.
And then when we read the 12th Yajna mudichona, the cycle purunjirum correct. Evam pravartitam chakram, he said. This chakram is there from the time of creation, he says. Evam pravartitam, chapter 3 like he says that. Evam pravartitam chakram. How to put this as a chakra is the challenge. What Swamiji has done is he has established how it is a chakra. That's all. How it is otherwise it looks like a buffet of 12 yajnas.
Right.
Everybody talks about it as a buffet of 12 yajnas. If I say it is a buffet of 12 yajnas, then it is not a chakra, no?
It is not.
If I say evam pravartitam chakram, if it is a chakra means all has to be, one must connect to the other. There has to be a conscious connection, which is what we are discussing.
Right. Thank you.
Is it okay, Bharat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Today, thank God there was no prana issues today. The connectivity was poor. We finished the prana. Otherwise, I was thinking, yam pranan poidumen. I was thinking another issue today. Now, one more day of this prana. Who's going to sit and discuss? Yeah. We meet again on Thursday and we study the last yajna.